Yesterday marked the beginning of the end for Teen Vogue, which was a sister publication to Vogue, started in 2002. 22 years later, they have found out that it's F around and find out. That's what it is. They completely destroyed Teen Vogue over the recent years since, I think, Trump's first term, and the consequences have finally caught up to them. Vogue put out this press release to explain their decision. They're not shutting down Teen Vogue entirely, but they have decided to fold it into the parent brand of Vogue.com.
Still a bad sign.
It's not going to have its own website. It's not going to have its own team. They're transitioning.
So it's in like a drop menu. It's like in a drop-down menu.
They're becoming more nimble.
Yeah.
That's what it is in corpo speak.
Corpo speak, yep.
Yeah. So Teen Vogue is joining Vogue.com. They will keep the unique editorial identity and mission and fortify the evolving Vogue ecosystem under the new head of editorial content at Vogue after Anna Wintour left. They have a new one named Chloe Molly, and she was the one who made this decision. They also sacked the editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue named Varsha Sharma, and I'm sure you could guess, Varsha Sharma is just the worst of the worst type of woke people. She never shuts up about DEI, and I think that maybe this is a sign of a vibe shift, but also just the fact that you cannot keep a publication like this running on fumes in perpetuity.
Yeah.
It was losing money for many years, since the late 2010s at the very least, when they discontinued print publication, because that was too much of a cost. And they also have implemented mass layoffs of all of their political writers at Teen Vogue. So
wait, why are there political writers at Teen Vogue?
Good question. Why was that ever a thing in the first place? So they used to have an editor-in-chief named Amy Astley in the 2000s up until around Current Year Politics, who made it a publication for young girls about makeup and hair and dresses and prom and cute boys and heteronormative dating advice and relatively innocent lifestyle content. And once they got rid of her, they replaced a whole new suite of leadership who are incredibly radical in leftist politics, basically avowed Marxists, and that took place in 2016. They decided that in response to the first Trump victory, they needed to completely revolutionize this publication and make it into a propaganda outlet for young girls. And over time, not only did they completely drive their brand into the ground, they also lost the readership they used to have. They don't have teen readers anymore. It's mostly millennials reading publications from other millennials. And they said in this piece from the head of editorial content, I remember when Teen Vogue launched, I read every page on the bus home from practice. I loved it then, and I love and respect it now, and I'm committed to continuing and supporting its point of view and sensibility. However, with the news that they have just slashed all of their political writers, that's evidently not the case. They don't want this to be a political propaganda outlet anymore, and they're probably planning to phase it out. And now, of course, the people who consider themselves like freedom fighters on Blue Sky for real journalism are up in arms praising Teen Vogue. They say it's one of the only publications doing real political reporting and journalism. So of course the billionaire class didn't like it and had to gut them. Another one said they just gutted Teen Vogue, which had top-notch political journalism. The media is continuing to purge any sort of political dissent to Trump and the oligarchs. And another one said, certainly there is more to come once the dust has settled, but after today, there will be no politics staffers at Teen Vogue. Now, I want to show you examples of the top-notch journalism they were praising Teen Vogue for publishing in recent years. First of all, the legacy of Karl Marx's ideas and how they're relevant to the current political climate, published by Teen Vogue in 2018, infamously. And the meme goes, Teen Vogue in 2002. Would Joe Jonas like your lip gloss, or are you ugly? Versus Teen Vogue in 2019, where it's just outwardly promoting Marxism to teenage girls. And then take a look at this throwback of a test issue of Teen Vogue in 2002 with Hayden Christensen on the cover. This is what it used to be. Best dressed list, fashion hits and misses, celebrity gossip. Just, the normal, what you would assume would be in a publication for young girls.
Yeah.
Because they're not organically interested in headlines like this. How about Welcome to Anal Sex 101, published by Teen Vogue in 2019?
Gosh.
How about that? Here's another one. Please talk to your family and friends about politics, even if it's uncomfortable. Use your privilege as a white person to protect people of color. How about this one? Abortion is normal. Abortion is common. Abortion is one of many reproductive outcomes that nearly 1 in 4 women, as well as trans men and other non-binary people, will experience. And Antifa grows out of a larger revolutionary politics that aspires toward creating a better world, but the primary motivation is to stop racists from organizing. Here's another one. In witchcraft, one's menstrual cycle is considered to be an extremely powerful time. Here's how to make your menstrual blood magical. Just tutorials on witchcraft and period blood arts and crafts.
Yeah.
And overt endorsements of leftist political violence and self-flagellation.
Yeah.
All of the things that you would expect. This is the top-notch political journalism that was just slashed at Teen Vogue.
Yep.
And the usual suspects are mad about it. Another one said, Teen Vogue has been one of the best outlets of the last decade, unflinching with moral clarity in the face of BS. Versha Sharma and her amazing team have always treated their readers with respect. Too rare a trait these days. And another one said, Teen Vogue took young people seriously. It's impossible to overstate how important, rare, and profoundly needed that is. To which I have to say, young people shouldn't be taken seriously. They shouldn't be, especially teenagers, especially teenage girls. Like, that is such a novel concept, even that we should take young people seriously. And you know what? In addition to that, it didn't just become, cultural Marxism, intersectional feminism, and critical race theory with a side dish of fashion. It actually became fashion as the outer coating, like the candy coating for all of that, the substance. And what they did was, like, they devalued everything that teenage girls actually took an interest in, which ironically is very demeaning to their readers. And the payback is that their readership plummeted. I
mean, this was happening in stuff for men too. Like, sports magazines were becoming increasingly political, and all of that stuff became.
It's happened across the board.
Yeah, and it was something you couldn't get away from. There was a time when it was maybe not profitable, but these were dying industries. Especially print media was a dying industry that was taking its last gasp by trying to cling on to something they felt was relevant at the time. It's not relevant now. It's so funny too, because you'd think the audience would be built in, but the age demographic kind of puts it off, because it's not like women aren't voting Democrat, which they are. So the thing is that their readers aren't teens. Their readers are adults. They're millennials.
Well, it's according to the editor-in-chief, mostly the 18 to 24 demographic, which is Gen Z, but not the demographic they used to have. And I remember I had a subscription to Teen Vogue when I was in middle school, and there were a lot of tweens that still read magazines back then, because I'm unk. And I remember back then I also had subscriptions to like J14, Tiger Beat. And even back then, like, my mom got me those subscriptions because even at the time she thought it was like quaint that they even still existed.
Yeah.
And now, due to population collapse for one, and the over-sexualization and indoctrination of young women in this country, the media and fashion and marketing that's directed toward tweens and teens has almost vanished. Like, we don't have retail companies that cater to young girls anymore because they're just mini adults consuming content from adult influencers and streamers.
Yeah.
And they're also, like, becoming the Sephora kids who are like obsessed with multi-step, hyper expensive skincare routines and like pretending to be adults essentially. So it is a sign of like cultural poverty that this has happened, and I'm not celebrating it. I'm just saying it's deserved, what has happened.
Yeah.
And for them to be acting flabbergasted at the result is so, I mean, they're so close to getting it, right? Like,
well, when they talk about that, they said like these publications were unflinching. That doesn't mean they're making any money. That doesn't mean anything.
They couldn't be sustainable.
Yeah.
So this is what you get. And now the union representing those writing staff that just got laid off has officially condemned Vogue's decision to fold the publication into their larger brand. In their statement, they said they strongly condemn Condé Nast, the parent company's consolidation plans for Teen Vogue. They claim that the move was clearly designed to blunt the award-winning magazine's insightful journalism at a time when it's needed the most. Yeah, it's award-winning, but it doesn't sell. That's the problem. And now all of these writers who just got laid off are whinging on social media about it, pretending to be victims.
This is a problem for when these companies lie, or at least they obfuscate the purpose of their jobs, which is like, when you look up the about for any of these magazines, it's going to say something like what these people are complaining about. They're like, our job is to look unflinchingly at the politics of today and see how it affects young women. No, not really. You can lie. I mean, you could claim that that's how you want to make money, but that's what your job is. Your job is to claim to do all that stuff while turning a profit. But when your corporate about me page ends up being what you think that the company's about, you're either lying or you're stupid or you don't understand how this type of economy works. It's why the creators that have become the most successful from these businesses have been able to pivot, whether that's somebody like moving to YouTube or moving to Substack and doing their own thing. Like, the point is to get eyeballs on what you're doing, not to push out whatever you want indiscriminately, which is why people have long form discussions about what you choose to cover. People ask that question of Tim all the time, like, why do you cover this? Why do you cover this? And this is a question that gets asked a lot of people. And when you're a really good independent creator, your enthusiasm for a topic can often sell something on its own. For other people, you have to go, like, that's what they call chasing the algorithm. You have to go and see, what are people talking about? We were talking about covering Sydney Sweeney today. About like whether we were going to cover like her comments on the American Eagle jeans thing. And we're like, we don't even, like, there's not even anything else to say. Like, we've already covered it. It's been covered. It's been beat to death. Do we need to cover it again? So when they talk about the importance of what they're doing, sure, I guess ideologically it could be important to you, but to the people that pay your salary, that's not what matters. They can lie. They can claim that that's what matters, but they're lying. They're being dishonest.
Well, the reality is they're not good at propaganda. If it's not selling, you're not good at propagating your ideas, are you?
Well, yeah, because they're just delivering a half-baked version of what you would see on Twitter and those spaces anyway.
I'm telling you.
This has been the problem for all of these publications, is they're trying to compete in a market that you just can't compete with, like individuals posting slop on Instagram stories. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's no sense to it. I'm
going back through this show, Everwood, and let me tell you, they were so much better at writing propaganda back in the early 2000s. I just watched this episode from 2002 where they're debating surrogacy, and it's a conversation that people would be having now. And if they wrote the episode the way that it was wrote in 2025, they wrote this episode the way they wrote it in 2002, I guarantee you it would slip by conservatives and they would have been like, oh, that was a pretty good discussion that they just had on that topic. But the problem is in 2002, it was a Trojan horse to make it more mainstream, as this doctor from New York explains to country bumpkins in Colorado what surrogacy is. Like, and of course, I'm talking about entertainment and not journalism, but the point is the same. When the propaganda is made better, it's why I talk about it all the time when I do my solo videos. Well-made propaganda goes down easier. And they're just not any good at doing that anymore. Right. To their own detriment.
My point isn't that prior to the 2000s, these women's magazines weren't pushing propaganda. They absolutely were, and that's verified, especially in the case of a magazine like Cosmopolitan. But they did it effectively because it was covert and I remember at the very least when I was reading Teen Vogue as a 13-year-old, it was content about dresses, shoes, hairstyles, and very innocent, maybe high school level dating advice. There was never anything about sodomy or Marxism or activism or essays about AI. There was nothing like that.
So glad that I never had to live through an era where like the skate magazines were talking about racial justice and climate justice.
And another reason why they're mad is that Teen Vogue now has no writers or editors who are women of color. As of today, or rather yesterday, only one woman of color remains on the editorial staff at Teen Vogue. And here were some of the responses from the people who got laid off. They're also like linking their Cash Apps and Venmos so that they can, shake their cup at us. I was laid off from Teen Vogue today along with multiple other staffers on other sections, and today is my last day. More to come, but to my knowledge, after today, there will be no politics staffers at Teen Vogue. Another one with they, them pronouns and watermelon in bio, named Ellie Bell, said that she is now converting all of her Teen Vogue articles into PDFs because she thinks that they're going to get taken off the website. She said Teen Vogue was one of the first places I ever got to write the kinds of more radical stories about mental health, polyamory, queerness, trans people, and more. I helped shape the identity and politics verticals back in 2017 and 18, and seeing it ruined is nothing short of horrific.
And now it's going under. I wonder if the two are connected.
Like, again, you're so close to understanding what just happened. Another one named Ayana Ishmael was laid off from Teen Vogue this week, saying, at our Teen Vogue summit, I was asked how it felt to be one of 2 Black women left and what it meant for representation. Now there are no Black women at Teen Vogue, and it's incredibly painful to think about. Ellie Bell said, I have so much care for my colleagues getting laid off and feel an immense sense of devastation because we're just losing more and more outlets we need for radical, honest writing, and rich assholes need to leave media alone.
You need the rich assholes to fund your assholery.
And here's another proof of concept. We used to have something called bitch media. It doesn't exist anymore because they went under. They were financially suffering. And she used to write for Bitch Media. She said, I mourned when Bitch Media went under. I'm mourning this, and I hope I get to keep organizing with my friends in media to do something about the way journalism is being ruined and marginalized. Journalists and writers are being harmed by wealthy people who, she capitalized this part, don't get it.
I want these people, what I would love for these people, the way they could win me over instantly is to go into business for yourself. Start a Patreon, start a Substack, start putting out your own materials, prove that there's an audience for it, which is what anybody else in the space
Start a Substack. This person should start a Substack and see if anyone subscribes.
They do not care about that. They want the validation that comes from working for Teen Vogue.
Or working for Bitch Media.
Or working for Bitch Media.
Or Jezebel.
It's
just like, it's the Grim Reaper, and he just killed off Teen Vogue, and Jezebel and Bitch Media are in the rearview mirror. And plenty of others that I haven't even named. But, start a Substack. See if your ideas are so compelling that you can build an audience of your own. I doubt they are.
Then you'll be Barry Weiss, and they'll be asking you to run
honestly,
CBS.
This might be interpreted as too charitable of a take on Gen Z women. However, I think that if you're someone with a watermelon in bio and they, them pronouns talking about polyamory, queerness, and mental health, you actually are, in my opinion, out of touch with what Gen Z is interested in these days. Like, I think that all of those things, queerness, blah, 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 like all of that is becoming like kind of cringe and passe amongst Gen Z. Despite the fact that like statistically Gen Z women are far left, that overt, like defiant rebellion of ugliness, that's being rejected right now. And this is more proof of that. And it is sad. I'm not like celebrating that Teen Vogue doesn't exist anymore for all intents and purposes. I think it should, but they did this to themselves.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.